Hello, everybody. Welcome to Parenting for a Peaceful Home. My name is Christina Louise, and I'm so excited to be here with you today and so excited to introduce you to Lorraine Murray, who is the author of two books on how to teach children meditation. And today we're going to share with you how to help you reduce anxiety and improve sleep in your child's life and in your own. Welcome, Lorraine. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks very much for having me here, Christina.
I'm excited to dive into this topic of meditation with you and how that can help us calm down and relax, because I know for a lot of moms out there, meditation sounds like another chore we have to do, something we don't have time for, and maybe something we're not sure if it's even possible that we could calm down and sit still for that amount of time. So help us understand um, a little bit better how meditation can fit into a busy mom's lifestyle or a child's lifestyle.
Okay, well, meditation, it depends on your understanding of what meditation is, because a lot of people think it's this dedicated time you have to put aside, as you said, in a very busy day, that, well, life is very challenging as it is anyway, without adding that on top of it. But the way I help people understand meditation is that it's really just being aware of being alive in the moment that you're living, rather than having your mind full of thoughts about the past or the future. Usually we're in planning mode, and trying to be much more present with the life we're experiencing. So that's one particular way of looking at meditation. For example, if you're listening to me now and I said to you, just pay attention to your breath, just notice your breath as you're breathing in and out. And all of a sudden you think, yeah, I can notice my breath. And of course, your mind will come back in and it'll take over and fill it with lots of thoughts. But for those few seconds, you were able to just concentrate on your breath. And actually, when you did that, you were meditating. And the interesting thing about being able to focus on your breath, and not in a dedicated, I put 20 minutes aside kind of way to do this, but being able to just do it whenever you can remember, means that you have access to this amazing resource of energy. Because often when we get stressed, we might hold our breath, which isn't good for the body, or perhaps we might even make our breath go faster, and that makes our heart beat faster, and then we start to send ourselves into a state of stress. So taking a few seconds to notice your breath, just like you did there, is the start of what I call meditation. Does that kind of make sense?
It does. So, what I think I'm hearing you say is that it's not necessarily something that we have to carve out 20 minutes or an hour to do every day. We can get started simply by becoming more aware and present with our own breath.
Absolutely. And it's not just the breath. The breath is one tool that's used in meditation to help people stay very present. Other tools that are used, for example, as I'm talking now, I might ask you to pay attention to the sense of touch. So perhaps you'll notice where your hands are or your feet are on the floor, or perhaps you'll have a sense of the material of your clothes, or your hair resting on the back of your neck. So until I bring your awareness to that, you don't actually notice it. But as soon as you take your attention to that, and you might think, well, what's the point? It means that you've given yourself a different place to put your mind than all the worrying thoughts that you had a moment ago, which were in the past or the future. So, and every time you give yourself a little bit of respite like that, you allow your mind to focus on something that's very neutral like that, then what happens is that your whole nervous system calms down. And the body's very clever that way. It knows how to keep us in a very high state of stress for survival reasons. But often we're in this state of stress when we don't need to survive, but our mind is presenting the world as a threatening place, so we stay in survival. And if we're concentrating on all these apparent threats that we are anticipating, we'll stay in that state of stress. When we come to even something as simple as noticing the sounds around you, often you might drive your car or go somewhere and be oblivious to the sounds of even birds singing, or any kind of other nice soothing noises in our environment, because we're so caught up in our heads.
Mm-hmm. And so, what would we say to somebody who says, well, if I don't worry about it, then it's not going to get done?
Well, one of the problems we have, though, is that the way our brain is designed, and there's a part of our brain called the hippocampus, and it's basically the filing clerk of your brain. So it stores information away inside your brain so that when you need it, you retrieve it. You know, you bring it up, you think, oh, where did I put my keys, or where, you know, where's this? But when we allow ourselves to go into that worrying, stressful state on a long-term basis, it's like the filing clerk of our brain has gone on holiday and a very long vacation. So it means that when we walk into a room, we can't remember what we went into the room for, or perhaps we can't find our keys because we can't remember where we put them. And that's usually starts to indicate a sign of more chronic stress. So it may seem like a good solution at the time to worry about things that don't get done, but will end up impacting on our own health and well-being. And one of the things I'm really keen on is that we model the behaviour we want our children to have. You know, if we go through life in this really worried, anxious state, then our children simply reflect that right back at us because they see us behaving this way and they model that behaviour. So it really does start with us and how we behave.
Absolutely. So how does meditation help us reduce anxiety and improve sleep?
Well, as I referred to there, you know, you have if you worry about things all the time, it means that your body doesn't really know the difference between whether something is real or not. And it's one of the things I do when I'm teaching people how to teach kids this. You have to learn that your mind is such a powerful tool that, you know, even if something isn't physically threatening, but we imagine it to be threatening, our body doesn't know the difference. So it goes into the fight, flight, or freeze response. And it does it to keep us alive, basically. You know, it releases chemicals into our bloodstream, and it supports this so that we can stay in survival mode. When we're in this chronic state of stress, our anxiety levels are quite high and anything can trigger us. So you'll probably find that yourself where you just don't know why, but the slightest little thing sets you off. Whereas, you know, if we learn a little bit of focus and meditation, we actually give our whole nervous system a break. And it means that the body can start to restore itself back into a much more balanced state. So we're not so reactive to the things around us, and we have more what's called resilience, our ability to cope with really challenging situations and recover from it much more quickly. And there's a lot of evidence now. I mean, when I first started meditating and teaching meditation years and years ago, there was hardly any scientific evidence to back this up. But now there's lots of information on the internet and studies done by universities and colleges and, you know, professors who can point to the relationship between our bodies being in a much healthier place and our minds in a much healthier place when we practice some form of mindfulness and meditation. Mm-hmm. And in terms of the sleep, it's interesting because our brain has 4 different frequencies it operates at. At the moment, you're in what's called the beta state, which means you're fully awake. So your consciousness has an electrical activity to it, and it's measurable. And so it's called the beta state. And then you have 3 other levels. So there's alpha, theta, delta. And the theta and delta are the 2 involved in the sleep state. So those are where our bodies have to process everything we've done that day physically and things we've eaten and, you know, all the physiological processes. And then you've got the processing of the mind, you know, all the emotions and thoughts, and that's when we dream. But that alpha state in between is the relaxed but alert stage. And that's a very important stage for us to embrace because our society and our lifestyle, I don't know what it's like in America, but in the UK, it's certainly a very full-on lifestyle of social media, people on full alert all the time, a lot of threatening information coming all the time from the world around us. So we actually end up not having an opportunity to be in that relaxed alert stage. And when we don't nurture that, and it's a prerequisite for deep sleep, then it means that we're trying to go from this full alert stage to deep sleep, and it's impossible. And when you practice meditation, particularly when you teach young people meditation, you're encouraging them to practice this relaxed but alert stage. And often in my classes, I've seen people talk about how their children start sleeping better, they start sleeping better, and it's because they're nurturing this very important alpha state, this part of the brain that needs this particular frequency, this rest but relaxed state before it can go to sleep and have a good night's sleep. So does that kind of make sense?
That makes absolute sense. And it makes me really excited for the free gift that we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. But before we get into that, let's talk about how I'm really excited now. Like just hearing the different levels of states and how you broke it down and shared some scientific basis for us. It's making me really excited to go and meditate. So for the moms that are watching right now that are feeling like, okay, I'm ready, you've sold me on this, what would you recommend that they do next? Besides take advantage of your free gift, which again, we're going to talk about in just a minute. But what can we do right now?
Well, I mean, it's the simplest thing you can do throughout your day is whenever you notice your breath, the research shows us that if you actually concentrate on your out breath from the very beginning of your out breath to the end of your out breath, okay, it immediately activates the rest and digest part of our nervous system, so the opposite of stress. So even doing that once a day is a miracle, for many of you who find it very difficult.
I'm doing it right now, and I literally can feel a whooshing kind of. I wish everybody, let's try this together. Would you be willing to lead us in trying together? All right, so it's super simple. Do we have to close our eyes?
Most people close their eyes only because it's easier, but if you eventually with practice, you can do it with your eyes open. It's totally fine. But if you just close your eyes for a moment and you just watch your breath, just don't try and do anything with it. Just rest your attention on your breath. And that might be at your nose or your mouth or the rise and fall of your chest, so you're just paying attention. And don't be disheartened when your mind starts to judge your breath and you start to feel it's not slow enough or calm enough for your liking. That's okay. You're very normal when it comes to concentrating on the breath for the first time. But if you can, I want you to just now start to pay attention on your out breath only. So really just allow your concentration. You can count the breath or you can make a sound with the breath as you breathe out. But just for the full length of your out breath, just allowing yourself to concentrate on the sound or counting the breath or the feeling of the breath. And then once you've done that, just let your in-breath return home to you. So don't try and do anything with it. Just let it come back in because your body's intelligent and knows what to do. And then do that again if you want to. Just be fascinated, curious about your own out breath. Just even imagine you're breathing all your worries and your troubles and pain or anything else going on, just breathing it out of your body, letting go of your out breath, following it from beginning to end. And then once you do that, just let your in-breath return home to you again. And then you can open your eyes when you feel ready.
I hope everybody feels as relaxed as I do right now.
It's a very one of the things, the reason that we have a lot of anxiety is because we're quite ungrounded. And what I mean by grounded, I don't mean in that kind of punishment sense of you're grounded. I mean grounded like nature, like if you look at a tree, it's a very symbolic representation of being grounded. A tree has very strong roots in the ground, obviously a strong trunk, and it doesn't matter what weather's going on around, rain, sunshine, snow, thunderstorms, the tree just stays still and copes with whatever comes towards it. And that's what we're like when we're grounded. It doesn't mean to say we're not facing the same challenges. It means that we just don't get rocked by them. And I just wanted to say, that I know it's easy to want to teach your children this and immediately dive into teaching your children how to be calm and less anxious, but they actually, the best thing you can do for them is to practice what we just did there yourself as frequently as you can, because even though your children might still have very challenging behavior, the more you can practice that, you become that strong tree. You become like they say in the aeroplane, the person who puts their own oxygen mask on before they can help anyone else. And that's really important when you're wanting to teach meditation. You're holding this space, and often I've seen it happen myself where children, even in the most upset state, if you're able to just practice and do what we did, it's like they start to resonate with you. It's like they feel the calmness coming off you in waves, and they respond to that with their own calmness. And it might not happen, immediately. It might take a few minutes, and that's a long time having challenging behaviour for a few minutes. But I've seen it work for me with the children that we've fostered who've had very challenging behaviour, and it's extraordinary.
Children are reflecting us, aren't they?
They are, yes, totally. Yes.
So I love that you're driving it home by encouraging moms to really practice this for themselves first, and allowing themselves to be able to show up with more acceptance and gentleness and tolerance. And then the child will start reflecting, mimicking that, and responding in that way too.
Absolutely.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
And the other thing I want to say is that, think of it, we had a quick chat about this before. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You brush your teeth every day, and it's a very similar habit that you start to form. So it might be that every time you pick up your cell phone, you just take a breath. You just do one single out breath. Every time you get into the car, before you even switch it on, you take one long out breath. Every time there's a stoplight, you take one long out breath. So we're not asking you to suddenly cram in lots of meditation into an already busy day. We're saying find those little moments where, you're waiting in line somewhere, to buy your lunch. You take one long out breath, and whether you open your eyes or close your eyes is up to you, but just having the opportunity to practice that has such a powerful effect on your stress system and your nervous system, and helps everything become much calmer. And then when it becomes calmer, it means that you don't react to the things around you in the same way. Ability to reflect more, and it's a great skill to show your young people, because they pick it up actually quicker than we do. Adults find it we have a lot more baggage to cope with, because we've had years of practice, and often people will think children are more difficult to teach this kind of stuff to. And I've had situations where I've been teaching it in class and then had feedback that their children have gone into school the next day, saw an anxious child in the playground, gone up to them and said, just focus on your breath, just breathe out, So children teaching children, and it's
oh
like,
my God, that's beautiful.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah,
it's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, what a great world we'd have. Yeah.
And so for those moms who are wanting to teach their children meditation, I know your free gift is going to help them with that. So let's talk about the free gift that you have to offer these moms here today.
Okay, well, I do quite a lot of things online because I think it's because of my books and people from around the world want to do this. So I do a lot of online talks, and usually these online talks people pay for, but the free gift is your access to one of my online talks for free. And it's basically giving you some useful skills to start teaching mindfulness. And hopefully I've come across as quite a practical person and down-to-earth person. So it should be accessible for all different levels and abilities. So even if you're an absolute beginner and you've never practiced meditation before, you'll be able to listen to the talk and just pick up just maybe one or two tips and think, oh, I never thought about meditation like that before. Oh, I'll try that, and for me, it's always about helping people find a way to access it in the way that's right for them. So it's not about trying to say, always do it this way and always do it that way, because let's face it, this is real life, so it's about trying to give a little range of different things that you can try, and you go, that works for me, I'm going to practice that for a while. So the talk is, and it's also giving you an understanding of the benefits of doing it. I've given you a small flavour of that today, but really it makes lots of common practical sense for us to practice this, and to teach your children this. It's a huge investment in the future of our human race, and basically, and I really think that, that's a big picture stuff. We've got more day-to-day stuff to deal with, but our children are struggling at the moment with the demands made of them. And to me, meditation is a bit like giving them a surfboard to kind of navigate all the challenges that they're going to face in life. It doesn't mean their challenges won't be there anymore. It just means that they're going to make more positive and empowering decisions with their life than they perhaps would have if we hadn't taught them that.
I really appreciate that you've brought it up twice now, so I'm going to highlight it, that we can't meditate our challenges away. We can't completely disconnect from the negativity and the chaos and just the demands on our schedule and in our everyday life. But by using meditation in the practical, down to earth way that you've shared with us today, Lorraine, we can get stronger. And so those challenges won't throw us around so much anymore. And with all the bullying and the chaos and just the stress that's put on children today, what a valuable gift you have to offer. And I love how you've made it so simple and so practical so that these moms can bring it into their everyday life and not have to, if they don't want to, make that extra time. But I'll tell you from personal experience, I've been making myself do that 15. I started with 5 minutes a day, and I've bumped it up 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, and then 15 minutes. That's where I'm at right now, of just sitting still. And I can notice such a huge difference in my day if I know my partner can, I'll just put it to this, my partner can tell if I meditated or not this morning. So I would want to encourage moms to go ahead and click the link, grab Lorraine's free gift so you can start teaching these practical, easy to do, meditative, employing these tips into your life and into your child's life today. And for those of you who are ready to get started with 5 minutes of sitting still, I highly encourage you to do that as well. Lorraine, before we sign off for now, is there anything else that you'd like to say?
I would just say be kind to yourself. I think you're doing the best that you can with who and what you are. I think that if you're able to teach one child meditation just once, you will plant a seed for the rest of their life. And whether or not you get to see that seed develop or not, at one point that could make a huge difference to that young person's life. It could save their life, actually. I truly believe that. And I am extremely grateful to anyone who tries to teach this, because I know the difference it's made to my life. And Christina, I know you do too. So thank you from my heart to yours for even trying to do this. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing your gifts and your talents with us. Be sure to grab the link, click the link underneath the video to take advantage of Lorraine's free gift. And I love you guys all. Thank you so much for showing up, and I'll see you all tomorrow with another video. Bye-bye.